For our guests, I just want to say something. There's a real exciting, youthful energy in the room today. I think maybe it's kind of, we got our end of year celebration today. We've got our Christmas or end of year dinner. I don't call it end of year celebration. And we'll be acknowledging the community today. And this is a practice that I've been doing for well over 10 years, probably longer, looking at my year and looking back at the year. And I want to start off with, right now, you're alive. Your heart is beating, and 1,000,000,000 trillion things are happening in your body. And there's a consciousness in there that's giving you the experience that you're experiencing right now. And I just want to share with you how surreal the last hour of my life has been. And I've been following a guy by the name of David Noakes, who's basically created a treatment that helps people overcome cancer, ME, autism, multiple sclerosis, so on and so on. And he was in court literally 5 minutes walk away. And I went on last Monday, and I went on Wednesday, and I went just now for the sentencing. Pure coincidence that we had a BeColl meeting on the same day. He got 15 months, probably out in 7. Charges: producing and distributing a medicine without license and some money laundering, 3 months. During the court case, he was asked by the judge straight out, knowing that you broke the law, would you produce and sell GC meth again? And I was there when he said, when the judge asked him that question, and he said, what, save people's lives? Absolutely. And I want to know, in the review of this year, we could be childish and fun and frolicky about it. We could be very significant and heavy. Anyone who knows me knows I don't like being too significant and heavy, but life can be. So we're going to be looking at the year in a way that maybe you've never looked at. Some of you will know some of the things I'm saying because you've been around long enough to go, well, I know that bit. I want you to really resist that you know that bit. Really resist that you know anything of what I'm going to say in the next hour. Not like factual knowledge, knowing, but really knowing in yourself, is this inquiry, is this process, is this exercise going to be of huge value to you, given that this is your life and your heart is beating and right now you're alive. And some people in this room, it's a miracle they're even here, isn't that right? And some of us walk around, have no idea of how miraculous it is to have a life and live it. I being one of those. I've never been ill, I've never broken a bone, never had a nosebleed.
Could be arranged.
Could be arranged. I've never been ill, I haven't taken any pharmaceutical medication for probably 20, 30 years. Nothing, you know, maybe the odd aspirin. No. And I take my life for granted, Alan. I really do. Would I put my liberty at stake for humanity? Would you put your identity at stake for humanity, for the possibility of who you are? And some of you here are already going, yeah. Others will go, I don't even know what you're talking about. And through that process, I want to engage you in what your last year was really about, what you achieved, what you didn't achieve, and how we're going to create 2019. Because at some point you will check out. I promise you that, Jerry. At some point it will be game over. Probably next week. At some point. But the reality is most of us don't actually confront that at some point. There's people in this room that either lost people recently or on the cusp of that experience. And there's some people in here that have experienced new life. Grandma. Yeah. New life, a whole new human being. What possibilities before them. So I want to think about regret. And I've got this clip for you.
Don't mind, you fill in the names, that'll make it even more official. You think of everything, don't you? If you don't mind, you fill in the names, that'll make it even more official. You think of everything, don't you? And the names are Mr. and Mrs. Victor Laszlo.
Why am I getting Richard?
Because you're getting on that plane.
don't understand. What about you?
I'm staying here with him till the plane gets safely away.
No, Richard, no. What's happened to you last night?
Last night we said a great many things. You said I was to do the thinking for both of us, but I've done a lot of it since then. It all adds up to one thing. You're getting on that plane with Victor where you belong.
Richard, no.
Now, you've got to listen to me. You have any idea what you've got to look forward to if you stay here? 9 chances out of 10, we both wind up at a concentration camp. Isn't that true, Louis?
I'm afraid Major Strasser would insist.
You're saying this only to make me go.
I'm saying it because it's true. Inside of us, we both know you belong with Victor. You're part of his work, the thing that keeps him going. If that plane leaves the ground and you're not with him, you'll regret it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon and for the rest of your life.
What about us?
We'll always have parents. We didn't have. We lost it until you came to Casablanca. We got it back last night.
I said I would never leave you.
And you never will. I've got a job to do too. Where I'm going, you can't follow. What I've got to do, you can't be any part of. Those I'm no good at being noble. It doesn't take much to see that the problems of 3 little people don't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world. Someday you'll understand that. Now. Here's looking at you, kid.
They don't make them like that anymore, do they? How many people... When was the last time you saw that film? Who's seen it recently? Oh, never seen it. I've watched that maybe 100 times and more.
It's not competition.
No. But I won. So that was kind of a lighter version of where I'm going with this to start off with. So we're going to go heavy early, and then we're going to lighten up and take some height, okay? Okay. So I'm calling this an end of year practice, and I'm talking in terms of completing the year. Right? Some of you are familiar with the term completing. It doesn't mean it's over. It doesn't mean it's finished. It means we're reconciling. We're doing some paperwork. We're going to do some filing. And I want you to start thinking about your year. Maybe start with January and February and go through it and start to think about what was going on this time, 2018 January. What was you thinking about? What was your hopes, aspirations? I want you to start reviewing the year in your mind. Okay? And then I want you to let yourself really slip into the emotional experience that the next hour is going to be about. Like, don't try and survive it. Don't try and go brush it off. I want you to get to experience the impact and the real life experience of being alive and in life. And who are you in that question? For yourself and others, and we're going to look into that.
So I'm reprising a talk that I gave in September at Carnegie Mellon University. There's an academic tradition called the last lecture. Hypothetically, if you knew you were going to die and you had one last lecture, what would you say to your students? Well, for me, there's an elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room is that for me, it wasn't hypothetical. I've been fighting pancreatic cancer. It has now come back after surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation. And the doctors tell me there's nothing more to do and I have months to live. These are my most recent CT scans. The pancreatic cancer has spread to my liver. There are approximately 12 tumors. I don't like this. I have 3 little kids. Let's be clear. This stinks. But I can't do anything about the fact that I'm going to die. I'm pursuing medical treatments, but I pretty much know how this movie is going to end. And I can't control the cards I'm dealt, just how I play the hands. Now, if I'm not morose enough for you, I'm sorry to disappoint, but I don't choose to be an object of pity. And in fact, although I'm going to die soon, I'm actually physically very strong. In fact, I'm probably physically stronger than most of the people in this audience. So, today's talk is not about death. It's about life and how to live. Specifically about childhood dreams and about how you can try to achieve them. My childhood dreams, your childhood dreams. As a child, I had an incredibly happy childhood. I went back and raided the photo album, and I couldn't find any places where I wasn't smiling. Right? I just had a great childhood. And I was dreaming, always dreaming. It was an easy time to dream. When you turn on your television set and men are landing on the moon, anything is possible. And we should never lose that spirit. So what were my childhood dreams? being in the National Football League, this is one of the childhood dreams I didn't achieve. All right? And it's very important to know that if you don't achieve your dreams, you can still get a lot by trying for it. There's an expression I love, experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. Now, I played Little League football for a long time, and I had a phenomenal coach, Coach Jim Graham, and he was old school. When I was at a practice, he wrote me all practice. You know, you're doing it wrong, go back, do it again. You're swapping off, you owe me push-ups, just for 2 hours. It was relentless. And after practice, one of the assistant coaches came up to me and he said, yeah, Coach Graham rode you pretty hard. I said, yeah. He said, that's a good thing, because it means he cares. When you're doing a bad job and nobody points it out to you, that's when they've given up on you. And that's something that's really stuck with me, is when somebody is going to ride you for 2 hours, they're doing that because they care to make you better. So, next dream, Walt Disney Imagineering. When I was 8, my family took the pilgrimage to Disneyland in California. And it was this incredible experience, the rides and the shows and the attractions and everything. And I said, gosh, I'd like to make stuff like that when I get older. So I graduated from college and I tried to become an Imagineer. These are the people who make the magic. And I got a lovely rejection letter. And then I tried again after graduate school. And I've kept all of these rejection letters over the years. They're very inspirational. But then the darndest thing happened. You know, I worked hard, and I became a junior faculty member, and I specialized in doing certain kinds of research. That's me. And I developed a skill that was valuable to Disney, and I got a chance to go there, and I was part of an Imagineering team, and we worked on something called Aladdin's Magic Carpet Ride, and it was incredibly cool. However, it took me over 15 years to do it, and lots of tries, and what I learned from that is that the brick walls that are in our way are there for a reason. They are not there to keep us out. They are there to give us a way to show how much we want it. If you're going to have childhood dreams, I recommend you have good parents. I lucked out. I have great parents. This is my mother on her 70th birthday. Well, I am the blur in the back. I have just been lapped. This is my father on his 80th birthday. There is this notion of have fun all the time. Have a sense of fun and wonder. That should never go away. All right? My dad, what an incredible guy. He fought in World War II. He was clearly part of the greatest generation. Sadly, my dad passed away a little over a year ago. And when my mother was going through his things, that was when she discovered that in World War II, he was awarded the Bronze Star for Valor. In 50 years of marriage, it had just never come up. There's a real lesson in humility that I can learn from my father. Now, my mother. Mothers are people who love you even when you pull their hair. And this was the kind of relationship I had with my mother. And my mother, speaking of humility, was always there to keep me in check. When I was going through graduate school and I was taking really hard examinations, I was home pretty much complaining and whining about how hard these PhD tests were. And she just patted my arm and she said, we know how you feel. Just remember that when your father was your age, he was fighting the Germans in World War II. And then the day came when I got my PhD, and I was so proud, and my mother introduced me to everyone as, this is my son. He's a doctor, but not the kind that helps people. Probably the most wonderful thing my parents did was they let me paint my bedroom. I said one day, I want to paint stuff on the walls. And they said, okay. So I had a rocket ship, and we lived in a ranch, so I wanted an elevator. I wasn't sure where it would go. And yeah, you can tell the nerds early, so that's the quadratic equation. But the great thing is that they let me do it. And they felt that letting me express my creativity was more important than the pristine nature of the walls. And I was really blessed to have parents who saw it that way. My parents taught me about the importance of people versus things. So when I got older and I bought my first car, and I was so excited, I had this shiny new convertible. This is my niece and nephew, Christopher and Laura. And every month I take them for a weekend, so my sister and her husband get a little break, and we go off on adventures. And I just showed up with my new car. My sister's explaining to Chris and Laura, that's Uncle Randy's new car. You can't get it dirty, da-da-da-da-da. And they're just cracking up laughing, because over her shoulder, I'm casually opening a can of soda and just emptying it on the back seat. And they come running over. She says, what are you doing? I said, it's a thing. It's just a thing. And I'm really glad I did that, because at the end of the weekend, as I was driving them home, little Chris, who was about 8 at the time, had the flu, and he threw up all over the back seat of my car. And I don't care how much value you get out of owning a nice, shiny, pristine thing. It's not as good as I felt knowing that I made an 8-year-old boy not feel guilty just because he had the flu. Next thing, you better decide early on if you're a Tigger or an Eeyore. Tigers are energetic, they're optimistic, they're curious, they're enthusiastic, and they have fun. And never, ever underestimate the importance of having fun. I am dying soon, and I am choosing to have fun today, tomorrow, and every other day I have left. If you want to achieve your dreams, you better work and play well with others. And that means you better live with integrity. Simple advice that you'll find hard to follow, just tell the truth. Second thing, when you screw up, apologize. There are a lot of bad apologies in America. A good apology has 3 parts. I'm sorry, it was my fault, how do I make it right? Most people skip that third part. That's how you can tell sincerity. The last thing is that we all have people that we don't like, that have done things we don't like, and what I have found is no one is pure evil. If you wait long enough, they will show you their good side. You can't make them do it in a hurry, but you can be patient. Show gratitude. When I got tenure as a young faculty member, there were about 15 young kids who'd been working in my research lab. I took them all down to Disney World for a week on my nickel. And one of my colleagues said, "This must have cost you an arm and a leg. How could you do it?" I said, "These kids just worked day and night for years so that I could get the best job in the world for life. How could I not do it?" I mean, gratitude is a very simple thing, and it's a very powerful thing. And lastly, I don't think complaining and whining really solves the problem. This is Jackie Robinson, first black major leaguer, had it in his contract not to complain if people spit on him. All right? Now, I don't care if you're Jackie Robinson or if you're a guy like me who's only got a couple of months to live. You can choose to take your finite time and energy and effort, and you can spend it complaining, or you can spend it playing the game hard, which is probably going to be more helpful to you in the long run. Now, I told you this was part of a lecture series at Carnegie Mellon University, and it's important for you to know why I gave the talk. Okay? The talk isn't just about how to achieve your childhood dreams. It's much broader than that. It's about how to live your life. Because if you lead your life the right way, the karma will take care of itself. The dreams will come to you. If you live properly, the dreams will come to you. I think it's great that so many people have benefited from this lecture, but the truth of the matter is that I didn't even really give it to the 400 people at Carnegie Mellon who came. I only wrote this lecture for 3 people. And when they're older, they'll watch it. Thank you.
It's an old one. Okay, thank you. So, I want you to think about, when you look out at the future, what are you really looking at? When you open your mouth, who's really doing the talking? When you say, "I can't," or you give an excuse, or when you're blaming in, it's them, or it's them, or it's them, or even if it's you. This is a very powerful metaphor, the rear-view mirror. Many of us are talking about the past over and over again. We've got that rear-view mirror and we're looking at it. And we're looking at the rear-view mirror and it is influencing, shaping, tapping us into what is the past. As soon as we think of a new challenge, we come up with all the reasons. That is the past. Okay? That's the past. And if you notice in this picture, the future is actually blurry. There isn't a clear run on the future, but there's a very clear past. And we're going to be reconciling today that past, and think about every time we reconcile something, we're making the future clearer and clearer and clearer. And if we look at our past, there's some stuff we've done that's really great, isn't there? Who here's done some great stuff? Really proud? Yeah? And some of you dine out on that a bit, don't you? Yeah, don't we? Don't you? Yeah, you do, we do. And maybe justifiably so sometimes. And how many of us can admit that some of the stuff we've done in the past hasn't been so great? And we're a little bit like, well, up yours. Glenn. Yep, me. Yeah? And I want to present this exercise, this reconciliation, as an opportunity to wipe the slate clean. So we can go into 2019 with new vigour, new drive, new passion for ourselves, for the people around us, for our projects. Maybe some of those things we've given up on. We don't think they're possible. Or we've already framed them in that little rear view mirror where we tried that last time. Who here said we tried that a while back, or we tried it before? Or some such. That won't work because. Now, it's not about technically being correct. It's about who you're being to that. It's who are you being? And Eckhart Tolle said, the past has no power over the present moment. That's not how human beings live. I want to assert that majority of the time, and even unconsciously, a lot of the time it's past programming running the show. It's there. Before you've even opened your mouth, it's gone boom. It's the framework, it's the way you view the world. And if you pay attention, you can hear it in people speaking. They're already telling you who they are and what their past tells them they are, as soon as they open their mouth. Not good or bad, just that's who they are. When they open their mouth, the response you get back is that reaffirmation of that. And I was very concerned today that I'm going to do this talk and people are going to go, well, I've already heard Erkan speak loads of times. So how do I speak in a new way? How do I bring a new sense of who I am that captures you in a different way? How many conversations around you are you already stifling because you already decide how they're going to go? How many times have we had this conversation now, Vanessa? Who talks to their kids like that? I do. But none of my kids are called Vanessa, so they just go, what are you talking about, Dad? So laying 2018 to rest, so let's get some work done. Can I have the handouts passed out, please? And can you just move the camera a bit to... I don't know, am I losing... No, I'm okay. Yeah. Oh, no, a bit back, a bit back.
You got an SD comment?
Yes, yes. Thank you, Chris. Thanks for checking. So this is, can I?
That's the past.
Yeah. So I really want to encourage you to take this really seriously. So we're going to do some filing. Now, you're more than welcome to take this. Has everyone got one? Can we read some more at the front, please? Thank you.
Cheers.
Okay. So I want you to start thinking about, I kind of already said it, is that when we talk, think, or engage with our reality, there are filters, theories, strategies, standards, and ideals. Who here expects people to do things a certain way? And who here gets upset when people don't do those things a certain way that you expect them to do a certain way? Right. How much of your time do you spend upset? Because people don't do it the way you do it. Or you go to visit someone's house and they fold the towels differently, or they don't put their elbows on the table, you do. There's so many inbuilt prejudices that are limiting us that it's you couldn't leave this room if you really thought about how impacted you are by the past. Like really, if you were in the present. Really, you're already having opinions about what I'm wearing, what I shouldn't be wearing, how loud. Who thought the speaker was too loud? Some people did. And did you think, why doesn't he just turn it down? Did you have that thought? I did it to annoy you. That's why I did it, to annoy you. But that's how quickly it's happening. That's how quickly it's happening. The reason the speaker was that loud is because I'm recording it on here.
I thought it's because you're a bit deaf.
So I want you to think about the standards ideals filters there. Think of them almost like physical happenings. But what I'm really focused on ways of being or your personality or identity. It's how you interact with the world. And you're constantly judging and monitoring and filtering. Wait, when I said that story. Yeah? Yeah?
I agree with this.
Yeah, of course. And then you two get together, you agree, and then you look at that other person, you go, well, they're like that, and we're like this. And we live in those judgments. Right? We live in those judgments, and those judgments start to don't they? By the way, this is not going to be an easy session for some of you. And it's automatic. It's really automatic. It's really quick. It's almost working at the level of speed that your conscious mind can't keep up with it. It's already worked it out. It's already done the judgment. I've been here before. I know what's going to happen. Bang. And you can't avoid it. You have to open your mouth and say that next dumb thing you're going to say.
Layering experience, isn't it?
Pardon?
It's layering experience.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's automatic. It's programmed. Now, this is the question, right? Some of those things work, don't they? Who agrees with Vanessa? Yeah. Who disagrees with Vanessa?
I didn't quite hear what Vanessa said, actually.
The accomplice said he didn't want to impose the...
Yeah, he didn't want to impose his invite on someone if he didn't feel it was right for them.
My response was, isn't the choice in the person being invited as to whether it's right for them?
Yeah,
So the
yeah.
offer, in my opinion, it's offer it and then they can make the choice themselves.
Yeah, of course. I might agree with you, but that's where he's stuck. And that's a strategy for surviving the uncomfortable conversation of asking you to do something that will make a difference to you, but I can't handle the rejection, maybe. So you think everything that comes out is an opportunity to transform it. If it's producing the result, crack on. This is what I'm saying. So some of it works. Because if it didn't work, you wouldn't be here, you wouldn't be able to hold a job, you wouldn't have a partner. You wouldn't. Because there are aspects of us as human beings that clearly work. Yes? And isn't there a load of stuff that doesn't work? We don't produce the result, we don't get the girl, we don't get the job, we don't get the promotion, and we're stopped by those walls that Randy Pulsch was talking about. You don't even get a say in it. The programmer has already said, no, I don't go down that road. That's the automation I'm addressing today. It says what is and isn't possible. Do you know, in that session, what I said to that accomplice was, well, forget about the people you don't think will get something out of BeColl. Just pick up the phone and talk to the ones that will. I'm happy with that. Because if you just spoke to all of them, this community would transform in months.
Nobody likes a smart ass.
No.
Were you in the meeting? No.
Yeah, I was talking to Chris at the time.
Came afterwards.
So I want you to pick up on the automation and how fast this is. And you think you're present and you're in the moment and you're all enlightened sometimes. But it's so fast, it's so cunning, it will catch you out. And as soon as you say something, just watch it. You watch it. Don't let anyone else judge you on it or hold you on it. You work it out. Did this last thing I say work? Did that thought that just jumped in before I even had the thought of the thought has already changed it's already influenced that perception. That's going to take some awareness, right? So, January to December 2018. We haven't reached 2018 December yet, but I want you to take this exercise until the end of the year. So, can you start listing down some possible regrets, breakdowns and failures? While you're writing them down, I'm going to elaborate a little bit more. So I want you to consider breakdown is, I'm not using it probably in the way you think about it. It's not that you're having a breakdown. I'm not talking about a mental breakdown or some kind of literal breaking of downness. I'm talking about something you've wanted to achieve in life and you didn't. Or something in achieving that thing you wanted to achieve wasn't available to you. So therefore you can consider that commitment, you can't have a breakdown if you don't have a commitment to something. The very nature of breakdown is you've got to be committed to something for it not to happen. So in line with the commitment, what is it you want to achieve that you're not achieving? And in that area, I want you to consider there is a breakdown. Okay, let me put it like this, because I'm looking at the faces. Who here can clearly see, in line with their commitment to be fit, there is a breakdown in that commitment? Get me? You get it, right? You want to be fit or a certain weight or a certain level of stamina, whatever it is you want to achieve, and in that area there's a level of breakdown because you're not achieving it reliably. And it's a declaration. We declare a breakdown. You know, in my commitment to being fit, there's a breakdown. Get that? Anyone got one around money? Who here in line with their commitment for what they would like to be earning or have set themselves up to earn, knows there's clearly a breakdown in your commitment to produce the income you want. Now, this is the thing, right? Because we get psychological. Oh, I'm obviously overweight because I'm too lazy. I'm obviously overweight because I'm not disciplined. I obviously haven't got enough money because I'm not talented enough and no one wants to buy my stuff. No. Relieve yourself of the psychology. There is literally a breakdown in your commitment. And it's like a get out of jail free card, Nick Horton, because you're declaring a breakdown in the situation and one that you can have a responsibility in as opposed to you're at the effect of the circumstances, no money, overweight, unfit. Yeah? Because what we do is we get guilty, we feel bad, we make ourselves wrong, we make them wrong, and then we end up with a whole different world, a whole different cycle. And in that world, we're disempowered. We're disempowered, and we don't ask the important questions of what is the next step in line with my commitment, in line of the breakdown. That's an intelligent question. Not producing the money I want to produce, what's the next thing I can do and take on, what action, what is around me, what resources, who here has leaned on the resources in this room or in this community that's made a difference to them? Who hasn't? Might be the better question. And the other thing about breaking down, where the breakdown is outside the comfort zone, is where the breakdowns happen. You can't have a breakdown if you're in your comfort zone. Because it's just, what do they call it? Normal, everyday performance. There's no breakdown in comfort. There's only breakdown when you push yourself beyond the limit and you fail.
You need to grow.
Yes. Brilliant. Say a bit louder.
You need to grow.
Yeah. Yeah. So the breakdown's calling you for growth. For your next breakthrough, your next insight, your next action. Werner Erhard said, consider that all accomplishment is constituted by a series of resolved breakdowns. Right, I want to get fit. What's missing? Regular activity. What have we cracked the last few months? Regular activity. Am I fit yet? I would say not yet. Am I on the way? I feel like I am. There's no breakdown. In line with my commitment, I am fully in line with it. It's taken a while, hasn't it, Chris? Last week we did 5 mornings, and I'm happy with 3 a week. Going out, doing our hour walk. And I posted today on JOP. I haven't done that for a while. So that is success. I said I'd do something, I'm doing it. I am getting the results of that action. That's success. I'm going to talk about that a bit more in a minute. But, what word sticks out for you out of that very short sentence? Yeah? Yeah? Resolved. Yeah. Resolved. For me, in where I'm at with this, right? Consider the breakdowns that you talk about and where you're not producing the result. You resolve that, guess what? It's a resolved breakdown. That constitutes the next stage. You've resolved the breakdown and you've moved on. And that gives you, consider that all accomplishments is constituted by a series of resolved breakdowns. And this exercise today is think about every area there's been a breakdown is resolving those breakdowns.
It's not necessarily linear, though, is it?
No, probably not. I didn't say it's linear, but yeah, it may be an order to them.
Because sometimes if you are continually failing, if you are having a number of breakdowns, maybe it's just because that isn't the thing you want enough, and you should stop doing that and focus on.
That could be a resolved break. By the way, you're not having the breakdown.
Well, no, but, you know,
But it's critical. You're not.
what's the correct language?
Well, it's a breakdown in line with your commitment. You're not having a breakdown.
I said maybe the breakdown is because the commitment isn't really there.
Well, you're committed to whatever is there. That is the commitment. Consider whatever result you've got, that's exactly what you're committed to.
Change of priorities, isn't it?
Could be.
Yeah.
Now notice you're going psychological. Stick to the exercise. So, write down those areas that in your world you've committed to and you haven't produced the result, declaring there's a breakdown in that area. It's a breakdown, not you having a breakdown. So failure, and look, Bruce Lee said this about failure, and I really love this quote. Don't fear failure, not failure, but low aim is the crime. In great attempts, it is glorious even to fail. Fail big. You're going to go down in flames. You know, wipe out. I lost the business this year. I wiped out. Big time. Most money I've lost in quite a long time, actually. So you're going to do it, go for it. If you hold anything in reserve, that means it's easy to go, well, we could have done, but we didn't do this. Did you do everything? You know, the crime is low aim. Who here is a low aimer? And you wouldn't want to put your hand up to that, would you? Go, come on. Who here is a low aimer? Honestly. Yeah? Can you see there's areas where you aim low?
Yeah, I'm reminded of something I got told, which is if you have a plan B, you never meant plan A to succeed.
No plan B.
Hashtag no plan B.
Yeah. Okay, so.
Also, okay, failure is subjective, isn't it?
I'm talking about things you wanted to achieve that you didn't achieve, that's all. I'm not saying that you're a failure.
No.
Oh, okay. Or that you're...
If you're running the marathon and you don't win, some people would see that as a failure. But people cheer the people that are working for a charity in the marathon.
Yeah.
That it depends what your interpretation.
That's exactly. This is what you consider to be a failure. To me, if someone even participates in a marathon, doesn't finish it, I'd still feel this a success. Yeah, that'd be my level. But if it's not their level, or they're considering, but it's remember, this is not about experiencing life as a failure or considering yourself a failure. It's failing to achieve what you wanted to achieve. And that's the only person you're really running a... You know, if we take the marathon example, you're only ever running against yourself, aren't you? Unless you are at the front, then it's a different...
My philosophy around low aiming is that I consistently succeed. Small, but you look back and then it's big.
Well, that's your strategy.
Because, you know, I'm not going to say I'm going to run a marathon because that's never going to happen. But I'll run for 5K and then maybe, well, that's the whole point. But you do 5, that's my whole point. You do, so I wouldn't say I'm going to run a marathon. But I'll say I'll run 5K and then I'm going to go to 10 and then before you know it, I've run a marathon. So my low aim is about personal motivation for success.
Yeah, but we're not talking about low aim, we're talking about failure. See, if you're aiming low, if ultimately you want to run a marathon and you're starting off with chunking, that's what you're talking about. You're not talking about low aim, you're talking about, I want to achieve this and right now there's this. Who here's familiar with the Merlin principle? Yeah? No? Really? In all these years I've never said Merlin. So Merlin is at home and he's making some food and he's putting out place settings for 2 people. King Arthur turns up and he says, oh, sorry, Merlin, I've interrupted you, got someone for dinner. He goes, no, it was you I was expecting. He goes, well, how do you know that I was coming? I didn't announce that I was coming, I've come out of the blue. He goes, oh, well, it's very simple, King Arthur. I live my life backwards. So I live from the future backwards. So the Merlin principle is put yourself out as far as you can see, what you want to achieve, and you know you're not going to run a marathon. And there's 25 miles, 24, yeah, you get my point. And what Merlin principle says is, well, if you're going to get to that trajectory there, what do I need to be doing tomorrow? And then the next day or next week or the next 90 days. Now, I like 90 days, that works for me. I think, what do I want to achieve in 90 days? I get my head down, I can work on 90 days. But in line with what long-term commitment?
And seeing that where you're at in 90 days' time is a done deal. Yeah, it's already done.
Well, some people talk about micro goals, some people, I'm not talking about method. I'm talking about low aim as opposed to failing or succeeding. And that low aim could be contextually driven, it could be goal driven. I'm focusing mainly on context and being, as opposed to what is it you actually achieve or not for this. So also, let's have a look at 2019. Start thinking about what triumphs, breakthroughs or successes. So going back to the failures, who's had a big failure this year? Anyone want to? Beiju, what failure did you have?
3 big ones around the finance of the business and the mentorship program.
And is that spread over the year, or did that kind of happen around May, June?
It's all because there's a bit of momentum broke. So with the momentum broke, it's like if you go back with not enough time, and then you sort of take your foot off the pedal. Whereas if you don't take, because I took my foot off the pedal at a certain point, I lost momentum. So it's like, I didn't take the foot, the momentum wasn't there. It's like, sometimes momentum carries you, that sense of enthusiasm, and it was lost. Then you feel like, although it's not real, you start from zero, but you're not.
It feels like you've...
Then you act like you're starting from zero,
yep.
As opposed to looking at actually the assets are there, You're not starting from zero.
Okay. Can I offer you something? A couple of times you said it. Who heard it? You. Who heard you? You start from you. Yeah? No, I didn't. You did. I did. Yeah. So that puts you back at in line with being completely responsible for that, as opposed to, well, you know what it's like, you know. Blah. No, I don't. You know what it's like. So if you own it, gives you a point of empowerment to own all of it. Just in language, we can gain so much. So who's got another failure that they just want? I didn't spend enough time. Chris, what was your failure this year?
So having shaken hands on an agreement to buy a company on the Friday, and then having the company give a profit warning on the Monday, without us knowing about the profit warning whilst we were there. And we were on the other side of the world as well.
So it's like you've just bought a car, you've shook on the car, and the guy goes, oh, by the way, the engine's no good. And there was a lot in play, wasn't there? So how did that leave you feeling about that whole situation? And you don't have to go to full detail, but I can see that.
It was incredibly deflating and took the stuffing out of me for several months.
Because you put a lot of work into it, didn't you? So when you think about the impact of these failures or these thwarted intentions or these unfulfilled outcomes, and when you think about the impact it has on, who here knows there's an impact on them when these things happen, but there's also an impact on the people around them? Yeah? I, for one, can totally get that's the case for me, right? So what about triumph and breakthrough? Who's got an example of triumph and breakthrough? Jackie, please.
I, for a few years, have recognised that the way to be successful is actually not to be self-employed or to have my own business, but to own a business and have other people work it for me. And it showed up as a breakdown at Easter when I had an email from my business partner saying, we recommend that this is the proposal for the year moving forward, is that you go from working 12 days a month to 2 days a month. And my initial reaction was, I'm not worth it, I'm not adding value, they don't want me on the team, blah, blah, blah. But then I thought, hang on a minute, this is what I've been asking for. This is the major breakthrough. I've got my time freed up, I can now recreate my future. And my gut reaction was breakdown. I processed it really heavily for 48 hours and then went, what am I complaining at?
Would you say that some of that ability to process it that quick and reframe it and move it forward is because of the years of training and inquiry and...
Excuse me, I wouldn't have even been there. I would have avoided that whole precipice if I'd never done any, because I wouldn't have owned a company, I wouldn't have known you guys. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 20
So,
years of practice.
I want you to think about compounded effort. Really, compounded effort over time. We heard about compound interest, we heard about compounding. But we don't think about our actions are compounding impact.
The thing about that compounding is it wasn't from one course, for example. It was from the combination of all the different things I've done and eclectically just going with my gut at what came up. I did a lot of journaling, which was something I got from working with Nick years ago, helping him on his masters. I was thinking I was helping him. Oh my God, has journaling ever been so powerful for me over the years?
So it all starts to add up. It adds up and it builds on, right? So, you've heard this before. We are standing on a massive mountain of value and experience. Especially people in this room. You've been around a little while, haven't you? But we don't behave like there's a wealth of experience and knowledge and understanding, do we? We don't really do we really carry that in the room? Like, do we really value who we are, what we're about, and the experience we've accumulated? I don't think we do.
Depends on the scenario. As in, are you doing something that is about you and nobody else, or are you doing it in an environment where you have to perform for others or as part of the team?
I don't know. It could be just walking down the road, knowing that you're... Just look at your body language, your posture, the way you treat other people, the way you engage with your environment is giving you your experience. Oops.
There's a humility that comes with the consciousness. So as you start to get more conscious, in some ways you become a bit more humble, and you don't shout things out in the way that you might have done before, when you didn't know anything.
Now, you're saying when you again. Are you saying that's something you're realising? Yeah, I get that about you. Not that you did that much shouting before anyway, to be fair.
No, maybe I
But you can see it in others. Okay, I'm going to have to up the pace. So I want to consider triumph is overcoming the past and creating an unpredictable outcome. Raising that money, Beiju, would be an unpredictable outcome. Closing those deals would be an unpredictable outcome. You may be committed to it, but overcoming the triumph and creating that future. Why? Because you said so. It's only your voice and your language that brings it into reality. And if you keep saying it and you keep talking to enough people about it and you compound that, you start to create something. And breakthrough sometimes comes in different ways. Sometimes you've got to blast through the wall. Sometimes it's learning to maybe sit back and listen and get what's going on before you open your mouth. It could be you never open your mouth and it's time to start talking. No reason I'm looking at you, Angela, just because I am. And in that there's a transformation. In that there's a transformation to start going left where you normally go right, to start overriding the automation. Most of the time when I'm coaching people, they're saying what they're saying, I go, just hold that thought, think of it differently. Hold that thought, think of it differently. Hold that thought, think of it like this. Because whatever that thought is not getting you the result. My staff are all useless, they turn up late, they don't do a good job, blah, 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 blah. Hold that thought. What about if they were the access to everything you wanted? Oh, I never thought of it like that. Okay, well think of it like that. And in that there can be a transformation in your conversation about it. Transforming your relationship to it is different from it changing. Like really reinventing your conversation of even what is past and future. It's work that most people on the planet hardly ever do. How do you know the next 2 years? How do you know how the next 2 years are going to go? Pretty much like the last 2 years. Pretty much. Pretty much. Well, no, and I get that. So I want you to consider, this is my model for success. Right? And we talk about success, and you can feel about success, and generally I don't talk about success, but I'm talking about success. And for me, success is about you, us as individuals, creating win-win-wins around us. You know, today being at court with Chris in the court today was like, for me, like a, God, you know, like from the conversations we started having a year ago to having you in court today, it was like, wow. Wow, we were there to make a difference and support something we felt was important to us. I think there was a win-win in that. You know, and when you make sure that people around you win, what you end up with is a sweet spot success. Like, is everyone around you winning? Are they succeeding? Because the fear scarcity competition model lends to I'm all right, Jack, me and mine. That model, it's there. It's like the water we're swimming in. Who here? Oh no, it wasn't anyone here. Or maybe just Carol. Getting out of that, getting out of that goldfish bowl long enough to look at it from a different angle. How often do you really consider that everyone around you wins? I don't think we do. Not as a construct, not as a intentional context for us. Do we really think about, are people winning around me?
But isn't that because of the way we think of success?
Yeah.
Success is always framed as personal.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's why I'm reframing it. How do people do around you?
Do you think you could also see everybody's competition?
Yes, I agree.
Even if they're not a competition.
Right, I want you to look at the next part and look at acknowledgement. I want you to write down a name. So I'm going to give you this. By the way, this is a framework to go and work on. We're not going to get the whole job done today. So I want to acknowledge Kay. Okay? I want to acknowledge Kay. Who knows Kay Westrap? Yeah, she's awesome, right? She's more awesome than you can imagine. But Kay, for me, I want to acknowledge her for what? She gave me TFD treatment and her stand for me as a human being. I want to acknowledge her for the TFT treatment and the stand that she is for me as a human being. Okay? And what did that make available? Okay? So what is the benefit of the impact of that contribution? It was me becoming effective again. Me becoming effective again after a very soggy period. It was a horrible time. Now, did she do it on her own? Was it only her? No. I'm acknowledging her for that. I'm acknowledging her for that contribution. And I want you to take on, there are many people contributing to you, making a difference to you, and the more you have the propensity to acknowledge that contribution, the more it comes back and the more propensity is for you to contribute. Contribution is a massive, massive thing. It gives people an idea that they exist. Then you say, Jerry, you know what you did, this is what it did for me. And listen, if someone comes up to you and has the courage to acknowledge you for something, and I acknowledged you for something a little while ago, didn't I? And you went, and you laughed, I went, no, I'm serious. I'm serious. What you did, that small thing that you don't even know you did, made a difference to me. So I'm really inviting you, over the next month, towards the end of this year, take on the practice of acknowledging those around you. So, creating and inventing 2019. This is a speculation. This is for you, more for you to take away and work on. So speculate. What breakthrough in being could you have? Right, I'm going to wave my magic wand. You can have any breakthrough in being you want. What do you want? Who wants a breakthrough in being? Breakthrough in being? Anyone? No one? No one? You don't want a breakthrough in being? Beiju, what do you want? Everything. You want everything? A breakthrough in being, Beiju. What breakthrough in being would make a difference for you? Being my word. Wow, I can't. Is that a cognitive answer? Or is that really what you want? And what would your word, being your word, make available for you?
Those commitment to breakdowns wouldn't be there.
So, okay, we're venturing into fixing. So going forward, 2019, being your word reliably or having integrity of your word, what will it make available for you in 2019?
Access to what I want to create.
Which is?
The platform and also
okay, right. So what breakthrough in your word would you need to have?
Commit to keep on my commitments to people around.
Okay. Does that look like something to you?
It looks like delivering on a number of projects.
Where you haven't?
Yeah.
Right. The breakdown, right, is your pathway to that. So you've got to find the breakdowns, resolving those. A series of resolving breakdowns gives you the access to being your word reliably. So one thing in me going out in the mornings and doing my exercise in the morning is waking up thinking, oh, I'm too tired, I can't do it. And I just started to evaporate that conversation in my head. That's for me what's made the difference. How I feel when I wake up at 5:30. And being accountable to Chris. Now, we have a flexible arrangement. It's not every day. We go out as often as we can, minimum 3. We've been reliable for weeks. All right? So get clear about what the commitment is and then manage your word in line with that commitment. And what I found out about integrity is just stop listening to the constant chatter. Just do it. Find yourself doing it rather than making excuses and reasons why you don't do it. Because that internal chatter is telling you it's possible, not possible. Breakthrough in actions or practices. What actions or practices? Because it's in reality where we put the being into the core. There's probably something you could have done, Chris, at some point that would have impacted that situation in a different way, possibly. And I know too much about the situation to kind of go, it was that or that. But you know what I mean? There's probably at some point where it went that way rather than that way. And your gut instinct probably told you something about it, right? But we interact with reality with our bodies. We do stuff, we move, we get in the car, we send emails, we pick up the phone. Hey, do you want to blah, 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 blah. So what new practices or actions can you take that you know right now will make a difference? Who's got something? 5 minutes. Woo. Being on time would be good. I'm not that far. Okay, right, I'm going to move on. And then let's cut to the chase. What breakthroughs do you want? I want a breakthrough in the growth of this community, right? And that's what 2019 is about for me. 2019 is about breakthrough and the growth of this community. Because I know you put great people in a room, you work with them, you share, you converse, you will make magic. We have all made magic in this room, haven't we? Okay? So start getting clear about what you want to achieve, because I know with more numbers in this room, we can achieve more impact. That's what's for me. And results. Okay, last but not least, Jill Tiny and that's me, Erkan Ali, right? Oh look, yes, that's sort of two. So look. But listen, the reason I'll show you this clip, this is like we don't get out of this alive. Are you that there's a back door? What's your plan B? No, lock that door, bolt it shut. I'm not getting out of this alive. I don't get out of BeCollaboration alive. I don't. What are you not going to get out alive of? That's you. Not because you were forced into it, not because you were pressured into it, not because someone told you, but because you chose, that's my life. This is my life. We're lifers. And I guess that means you as well, Al. Sorry, mate. So, Warren Earhart said, create your future from your future, not your past. To start to invent that future. Shake the Etch-a-Sketch, get back to blank, and start to invent, create. How do you predict the future? You invent it. How do you create the future? You invent it. You invent it through language. Right, and I just want to show you one last clip, literally 20 seconds. And this is what you do with the rear view mirror. One of my favourite films of all time.
And now, my friend, the first rule of Italian life. What's behind me is not important.
So grab that rear view mirror and bung it over your head, your shoulder. Okay, so bring on 2019, everybody. Thank you very much.